Hello and welcome to your first ever gathering. I'm so excited that you are able to watch this video. You know, we've been hosting Finding Balance gatherings here at our Franklin, Tennessee, we're just outside Nashville office, since 2007. And just recently we thought, what could we do so that we could kind of share what happens here and provide a structure for groups like this to happen all over? And so that's what you're part of wherever you are right now, and hopefully you'll be able to just get into some of the things that we're learning here, and they'll benefit you too as we all work and walk toward greater health and freedom in the areas of eating and body image. Well, I want to talk to you just a little bit about why you're here. And the first thing I want to say is that if you have eating issues, you are in very good company. And I want to read to you a little bit from an article that was released in April of 2008 in Self magazine. And what they did is they did a study where they interviewed 4,000 women between the ages of 25 and 45 about their eating habits. And what they found was that 75% of women experience some sort of disordered eating, and at least 65% of those aren't what you would think of for clinical eating disorders. So they weren't answering questions in a way that indicated that they had a severe eating disorder. And maybe you're here tonight and you're like, I don't have anything really that big a deal. That's okay. That's what we're here to talk about. Let me tell you the 6 categories that they talked about. Number 1, calorie prisoners are terrified of gaining weight, tend to see food as good or bad, and feel extremely guilty if they indulge in something that's off limits. Number 2, secret eaters binge on junk food at home, in the car, or anywhere they won't be found out. Number 3, career dieters may not know what to eat without a plan to follow. Anybody with me on that one? Number 4, purgers are obsessed with ridding their body of unwanted calories and bloating through laxatives, diuretics, or occasional vomiting. Number 5, food addicts eat to soothe stress, deal with anger, even celebrate a happy event. You might think of that as emotional eating. And number 6, extreme exercisers work out despite illness, injury, or exhaustion, and solely for weight loss. They are devastated if they miss a session. This again from an article that appeared in Self magazine in April of 2008. What I loved about this was my whole reason for founding Finding Balance, which is a Christian nonprofit organization dedicated to helping people find freedom from eating and body image issues. I founded this organization because I too struggled with eating issues, and most of mine weren't in that clinical category. You know, those words we hear a lot like anorexia and bulimia. I wasn't meeting those criteria, and so for many years I thought that I was okay. In fact, I documented that story in my book, Life Inside the Thin Cage. You can find this at your local library. Amazon.com has it, maybe your local bookstores. But if you want to get to know me better, if you read this book, you'll get to read some of my story. And I'll give you a brief little bit of it right here. My first introduction to eating issues began when I was observing my mom growing up. My mom struggled with her weight a little bit. I would never have thought of her as being hugely overweight or anything, but she struggled with her weight. It was a very sensitive area for her, and so somewhere when I was a young girl, she kind of stumbled upon purging as a form of getting rid of calories. And she stumbled upon it by accident, but soon it took over her life. And I remember in my teenage years, I would come across her journals and read about, she kept very detailed descriptions of everything that she was going through. She was trying to figure out what had turned into a full-blown bulimia. And she couldn't seem to nail it down. And I remember reading those journals. I hadn't struggled with eating at all at that point, and thinking, why in the world does my mom struggle so much? I mean, she's so bright and talented and beautiful. You know, we generally think of our mothers as these things, and I couldn't understand why she struggled. Well, then I went to college, put on the freshman 15 in the first few months. I documented a lot in my book, but suffice to say, as soon as I realized I had gained this extra weight, which happened really fast because I was engaging in a lot of emotional eating to deal with the stress of being in that new place, as soon as I realized I gained that weight, I threw myself into the first diet that I could find to try and lose that weight, and that was the grapefruit diet, which, in case you're wondering, and you haven't already tried it, which I know that many of you have, grapefruit diet doesn't work. And, you know, when it didn't work, then I threw myself into another one, and then I would try and starve for a little bit, and then I would binge because I was so hungry. And then the cycle began to grow, and on until my entire college experience was nothing but a roller coaster of binging, starving, occasional purging. I thank the Lord that I did not engage in that bulimia that my mom had struggled with, and that's probably why, because I'd seen that struggle, but I did everything else. Well, after about 3.5 years, I had kind of a paradigm shift one day. I was standing in front of the mirror, and for the first time in 3 years, I decided I needed to look at my body below the neck, because what I had done is I had become very much in denial of how all my eating stuff was actually causing me to get even larger and larger and larger over time. And I was never what you would call obese, but I was carrying a lot of extra pounds that weren't natural for my body, and I knew it. And so on this particular day, I stood and I looked in the mirror, and I forced myself to look at my whole body. And I stood and looked at the front, and then I turned around and looked at the back to just see the reality of what my addiction to food had done to my physical body. And this was in addition to all the other things it was doing in my mind and my relationships and so on. That day I had a paradigm shift. For the previous 3 years I've been, I've got to lose weight, got to lose weight, got to lose weight, got to lose weight. That whole, intensity, urgency, got to lose the weight. And suddenly I realized, that has gotten me nowhere. In fact, I'm even heavier than I was when I started all of that. And so what if I could just focus on this problem not getting any worse? And that may sound like a kind of a wimpy way to go, but I'll tell you though, it was just something life-giving to me. And so that became my goal, and I gradually fought the urge to binge, which had become my personal stronghold. And over about a year, year and a half, I actually lost the weight, got down to what I thought, what my target weight was. But then I was so terrified of ever gaining that weight again that I just kind of threw myself into a long, chronic diet, and this continued for another 7 years. Well, during these years, I was working in the music business. I was actually working at Sparrow Records, launching great artists like Switchfoot and Newsboys, and working with Stephen Curtis Chapman, and had this great career going. I was married. I'm still married to the same guy. And on the outside, I think everything looked good. But on the inside, my entire life was controlled by what I was eating, what I weighed, what size I was wearing, and basically what I assumed everybody else was thinking about all of those things too. And God just one day, and I documented in my book, He kind of brought me to my knees. And to make a long story short, He revealed to me that, this little, watching what you're eating thing is more than that. You have a life-controlling issue with food, and I want to help you break free. Well, it's been more than 10 years since that time, and I will tell you that it's been a lot of ups and downs, but mostly, you guys, what you need to know is what I've learned is that our bodies kind of know how to function if we treat them well. Now, if you've been eating in an unhealthy way, it takes time for you for your body to kind of catch up to you beginning to treat it in a new way. But after a while, it catches on. And the cool thing is being able to eat without guilt, without shame, without being worried that you're going to eat everything in the house if you eat one particular kind of a thing. And let me tell you the foundational principle that you're going to hear a lot if you watch these videos. And that is, it comes from a teaching that I heard Beth Moore give several years back, where she said, and you can even do this if you have a piece of paper in front of you, take out a piece of paper. I want you to draw a line down the center from top to bottom. And on the right side of that line, I want you to write the word obsession. Okay? Always thinking about it, always worrying about it, always on the brain. On the other side of that line, I want you to write the word carelessness. I don't need to worry about what I'm eating. I'm free from having to ever take care or think about my body. That's for other people who are only worried about their appearance. Okay, carelessness and obsession. This is from Beth's teaching. These are two extremes that most of us swing between. The goal in the middle is the word respect. Okay? So what we do here at Finding Balance is we're always saying we want to make decisions about food and about everything, but particularly for our work, about food that respect who we are. And what we say is, are we respecting who we are in 5 key areas? Physically, intellectually, relationally, emotionally, and spiritually. Can we respect who we are in all of those areas when we are eating? Okay, so the way that plays out is if I'm going to binge on the weekend and starve during the week, am I respecting my body? No, it's not made to do that. Am I respecting my mind? Well, no, because I know that's not healthy and I'm going against my intellect. Am I respecting my relationships? No, because I'm probably going to pull away and hide because I'm going to feel ashamed when I do that binge. Am I respecting my emotions? No, because I'm going to feel guilty and ashamed and sad, a variety depressed, anxious, all of these things that aren't healthy or respectful. And what about spiritually? Well, here's the cool thing. God is not sitting up in heaven judging us because we struggle with eating and body image. Okay, so the point is not, I need to do better with my eating so that God will love me. That's not at all what we're trying to teach. However, I will say this. Romans 8:7 says that focusing on the self is the opposite of focusing on God. And what I have found in my own struggle and in the women that I work with here is that when I am consumed with eating or my body, or these days consumed with how I'm doing at work or what other people think of me, I am focused on myself. And so focusing on the self is the opposite of focusing on God. That means I can't grow spiritually the way that I could if I would allow Him to strip some of these things away and pull me closer to Himself. So that's a little bit of an overview about who I am. Finding Balance now, I started this organization a few years ago, and what we do is we create tools and resources to help people find groups like this. We have a new curriculum that we've just released, Finding Balance with Food, so you can do a 12-week small group study. We'll be releasing more curriculum like that. Our website has more than 500 videos with doctors and nutritionists and counselors, people who want to help you get healthier in the way that you approach food, which, by the way, I just want to point out that it is possible to eat too healthy, and we address all of that as well. We're really going toward balance. So I hope that you will check out our website if you have questions or if you need some of those resources. That's just findingbalance.com. And I want to just thank you and your host there for joining us on this journey. I hope you find it beneficial, and I look forward to hearing from you as the weeks and months and hopefully years go by. I look forward to hearing those stories of how God is releasing you to focus less on the self and to deal with the stuff that makes us do that, so that we can really focus on Him and impact our world in some powerful, powerful ways. And one last note that I'll say on that point is that something we are so excited to be a part of is the True Campaign. And you can go there at www.truecampaign.org, and your facilitator may play you a video from the True Campaign when you're there together in your session right now. But the True Campaign is all about, how can we impact our world? We want to challenge cultural ideas about beauty, identity, and the influence that God has given us. So all of this, you guys, is for a purpose, because there is a healer and there is a stealer, and you've been stolen from as you've listened to lies in your mind about your body, about your value, about food. And the healer wants to come and heal your heart and free you in ways that can't help but spill over to those around you. So excited to be on this journey with you, and we'll see you next time.